What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Kadie, and this is where we talk all things personal development, mindset, and money. I'm so excited about today's conversation. Productivity. You probably don't realize this, or you probably don't know this about me, but I have such a short attention span. I'm the kind of person who will buzz from one idea to the next and just all over the place. And so I've had to be incredibly intentional about my productivity methods, because otherwise I start a lot of things and I never really end up getting things done. And so I wanted to share some of the things that I do that has helped me get more done and ultimately be a lot more productive. Have you ever had the kind of day where you did a lot of stuff but felt like you accomplished nothing? I've had a few of those days. Consistently, a lot. And so one of the things that I do now is I only have 3 high priority things on my list. Everything else, I'll get to it when I get to it. But there are 3 things on my to-do list every single day, and they're my high priority tasks. If I can get those 3 things done, I've had a great day. It is so easy to clutter your to-do list with a bunch of meaningless tasks because ticking them off makes you feel good, or you have tasks on your list that aren't even really tasks. They're just there to make you feel like you're busy, and they really have no great reward. You end up feeling overwhelmed by your to-do list. And so ultimately you just don't get to the things that truly would give you the best reward. So only putting 3 main top things on my to-do list has helped boost my productivity, because it makes me a lot clearer on what will bring me the greatest reward. So every single week I have my top 3s, and every single day I have a top 3. I have a top 3 of things I need to achieve for the week, and then a top 3 of things I need to achieve each and every day. If something else comes up, we're going to have to see how that prioritizes against everything else. But it means that I have a sense of direction of the outputs that I need to produce at the end of each day, and not just a checklist of things that I'm going through and not really getting the things I really want done. I used to be the kind of person who rolls over in the morning, checks her email. And sometimes when you get certain emails first thing in the morning and it ruins your day. Yeah, I have been there. And so one of the things that I do now is I don't check my emails before 10 o'clock. And beyond that, I check my emails 3 times a day. 10, 2, 4. That is it. If you need me and it's an emergency, I make it very clear in my signature in my emails when I actually check my email. So if it's an emergency, Slack, Teams, Skype, WhatsApp if you have my number, because I would find myself constantly going back to check my emails because I never wanted my emails to mount up too much throughout the day. And so I was constantly checking emails throughout the day, and I'd have days where I felt like all I accomplished was responding to emails. And so I had a backlog of tasks that needed to be done, and it didn't feel good at all. I felt like I just wasn't accomplishing anything. So what I do now, I check my emails and then I batch respond to emails by giving myself a 20 to 30 minute time slot each time. After that, it's going to have to be the next scheduled hour because I've got things to do. And if you need me, follow the instructions in the bottom of my email. And I find that a lot of people, when they get that kind of response, they realize that they don't need to email me, that they can probably just solve it themselves, or they can wait until they see me, or we get on a phone call instead. And on the topic of batch producing, something that has really helped my productivity is batch producing anything that is batchable. Everything from batch responding and drafting emails to status reports, because project management, to YouTube videos, to podcast intros, podcast episodes, everything that can be batchable, especially when it's content creation, batch produce. Set out a specific time in your calendar, whether that's a day or a couple of hours, and batch produce the work. You don't have to think about what content you need to produce next week because you've batch produced for the month and it only took you a day or 2 days to batch produce in that month, right? And so for me, I batch produce anything that is batchable. Best believe I'm blocking out my calendar and I'm batch producing so I don't have to worry about it. And that way, I actually feel like I get so much done because I've given myself time to do a lot of things. I don't have to worry about things as much because I don't have to do it on a daily basis. And so I feel accomplished when I go into a new month, knowing that content has already been batched or YouTube videos has already been edited or produced and podcast episodes have already been scheduled. I can actually focus my intention on something else for that month. An incredible book that I read a couple years now actually is Deep Work by Cal Newport, where he explores the relations between focus time, distraction, passion, purpose, and all of the things in between. And it made me really think about the way that I approach my work life and introducing myself to this thing called deep work time and deep work sessions, where I block out time in my calendar to do high value activities versus focusing on low value tasks, right? And not allowing myself to become distracted by social media or meetings. So if I put deep work in my calendar or focus time in my calendar, it means that I'm not available. I cannot respond to your emails. I cannot respond to your messages, and I'll get to it once my focus time is over. My productivity has skyrocketed by simply giving myself 30, 60-minute deep work or focus time sessions where I get to completely focus on the piece of work that I'm doing. Because how often are you in the middle of doing something and your phone goes off, or an email comes through, or somebody needs something, and you never actually get to finish the task you set out to? If you make it a discipline to have focus time and deep work time, the likelihood is you'll be able to get a lot more done because you are removing the distractions that will take your time and your energy. You'll probably be more. Another principle that I've adopted to boost my productivity is the concept of doing the worst first. Author Brian Tracy coins the term eat that frog, which is basically the task that you do not want to do, the task that is most challenging, the task that is hardest. Instead of procrastinating it and pushing it towards the end of the day, do it first. Conquer your giant. Slay your Goliath. Because let me tell you something. When I do the worst task first, you can't tell me anything. You cannot tell me anything for the rest of the day. I feel unstoppable. I feel invincible. I feel like I have done the most because I know that I don't have to worry about that task for the rest of the day because I've done it. It gives me a level of confidence that I'm starting my day killing it. When I conquer my giant and I slay my Goliath first thing in the morning, you can't tell me anything. I'm invincible. I've done the worst thing on my to-do list first. At that point, you can't take my motivation away. You can't take my bragging rights away. I feel like I can attack anything that comes to me in that day because I've done the hardest thing first. I've done the thing that I didn't want to do. I've done the thing that is most challenging first. So instead of pushing it down my to-do list, I actually do the worst thing on my to-do list first thing in the morning because then I've slayed my Goliath. And finally, self-imposed deadlines. Parkinsons Law says work expands so as to fill the time available for completion. So if you know that a task only takes a day to complete, but you have a deadline for 2 weeks from now, don't give yourself a 2-week deadline. Give yourself a week. That's something that I have implemented. Instead of allowing myself to work towards the deadline that I've been given, I've actually imposed a new deadline. And that way, I actually trick my brain to believe that the deadline I've set for myself is the real deadline. That kind of gives me the time back for the next 2 weeks, or all the extra time I would have had spent procrastinating on the task. I now have that time to focus on something else. Ultimately, getting more done. So I really hope that those tips were really helpful. I know for me, productivity can be such a task and a half, especially how easy it is to procrastinate and become distracted. So I really hope that those tips were helpful. As always, if you have any productivity tips, please feel free to share them in the comment section below. Speak soon.